What's going on, everybody? Welcome into Four Verts. My name is Harrison Graham. We're here for a little NFL Week 12 reaction to the early 1 o'clock games. We'll be back tonight, more than likely, if we get at least 20 subscribers. We'll definitely be back for Sunday Night Football reaction. Hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications. We're reacting to every big game, the latest NFL news out there. We'll talk a little Aaron Rodgers later in the week, I'm sure. Hit that subscribe button. NFL, college football videos on a daily basis. All right. I know sometimes it probably thinks, oh, the guy who hosts a Bears channel talks about Bears on Four Verts. Well, it's an NFL and college football show, and I talk about the big stories. And the Bears finding ways to lose in the craziest fashion continues to be a major storyline. Vikings win in overtime 30-27. Caleb Williams leads 3 scoring drives in the final 9 minutes or so, 17 points, including a field goal after the Bears get an onside kick. He throws about a 25-yard in route on a laser to DJ Moore. They make the kick, get to overtime. Caleb takes a bad sack in overtime, although he played great throughout the game. Took a bad sack. And then Matt Eberflus, who is on the scorching red hot seat, his defense gives up a 2nd and 17 and 3rd and 10 sequence, a 1st and 15, another 2nd and long, and the Vikings go straight down the field and score to win. I've watched every single snap of Matt Eberflus's Bears career. His defense is so fraudulent, it's unbelievable. I mean, guys are just wide open on that final drive, and huge win for Minnesota, because when the Bears get that onside kick and force OT, you're thinking, oh my God, this could be a catastrophic loss for the Vikings, but their defense bows up, gets a stop in overtime, and then, Kevin O'Connell dials up some play actions, finds wide open receivers, TJ Hawkinson, Jordan Addison with some big plays, and the Vikings improved to 9-2, and Bears fall to 4-7. And I'm sitting there watching that game, and to me, there's one difference between the two teams: coaching. That's really is, especially the head coach. The Bears' new offensive coordinator, Thomas Brown, in his second game, taking over for Shane Waldron, did a really nice job. I mean, they had over 400 total, or they had right at 400 total yards against Brian Flores' defense. Caleb played really well, threw for about 350 yards and 2 touchdowns. They couldn't run the ball, but the Vikings lead the NFL in run defense. But the Bears are just so poorly coached. I mean, Matt Eberflus had an awful time or a challenge to start the second half. The guy wasn't even close to out of bounds. Misutilization of timeouts. His defense is, which is the one thing he's been given credit for and that he's known for, can't stop a nosebleed. There was one point where Sam Darnold had to check out of the game for a play, and Nick Mullins on a 3rd and 13 throws a little drag route to Aaron Jones, who just runs untouched for 16 yards. You're just going, how is that even possible? I watch these two teams, and I'm like, well, one team's 9-2, the other team's 4-7, and there's one reason. One's coached well, the other one's not. If you're a Bears fan, really good day for Caleb Williams. A lot to build on. He's had 2 really good games in a row. But, man, the Bears have had 3 of the craziest losses in the last 5 weeks that you'll ever see. A Hail Mary, a blocked field goal, and today you actually are on the right side of a lucky bounce. You get the onside kick, and you still lose it in overtime. I mean, it's wild, but Vikings rolling, man. They're firmly in the 5 seed right now, still holding serve. Only a game back at Detroit in the NFC North, who we'll talk about in a minute. But big win for the Vikes. Awful loss for the Bears yet again. And it really is just a matter of time for Matt Eberflus. I mean, they're not going to fire him tomorrow because they play on Thanksgiving. It's a short week, all that stuff. But he just looks dejected after these losses. He doesn't sound like the same guy. I think he knows what's coming. And, for the Bears moving forward, it's about one thing and one thing only: finding the right coach to guide Caleb Williams and this team, because they're too talented to be 4-7 and lose 5 games in a row. We were talking to the bullpen at Chat Sports, and I brought this up. Has a team ever entered the bye week with a winning record and then come out of the bye and lost 5 games in a row? Because the Bears just accomplished that. It's absolutely incredible. So Bears lose, Vikings win. All right, Chiefs survive against the Panthers 30-27 as well. Patrick Mahomes, big day, tosses 3 touchdowns, leads a last-minute field goal drive. But, I started thinking about it. Bryce Young starting to play pretty well. 263 and a touchdown today, put up 27 points against this Chiefs defense, which Is Spags Group on fraud alert? Their secondary is not that good. Opposite of Trent McDuffie, they're struggling a bit. Pass rush can be a little spotty. Just something to watch over the next few weeks. But I'm wondering if Bryce Young is starting to play his way into not being the guy, but like, do you give this another year if you're Carolina? Like maybe you trade down from your first round pick to a QB needy team, load up on more assets, give it another year, and then worst case, you draft a QB in 2026. I mean, since he's come back from sitting down for a few weeks, he's at least been serviceable. He's at least played like a high-level backup, and today he played like a pretty decent starter. So that's a positive development for Carolina. Obviously, they would have liked to win this game, but I think if you're a Panthers fan, you got to be at least somewhat hopeful for where this thing could go on. Some different guys are making plays. You've got to start a running back in Chuba Hubbard. If they can continue to build this roster, I think that's the approach I would take if I was the Panthers. I would not take a QB with my first pick this year. I would continue to load up on the roster, see how next year goes, because I still think they're more than a year away. And if Bryce doesn't take the proper steps next year, like look like he could be a top, at least, half of the league guy by the end of next year, then okay, draft a guy in 2026. But that's what I would do if I was the Panthers. Ideally, Bryce Young plays well, you lose games, you get a high draft pick, you trade down to a QB needy team, and then you load up the roster this offseason and try to be more competitive next year. And then, you make your decision on Bryce after 2025. Assuming he plays at least well enough the rest of the way, that is something I would heavily consider doing. All right, before we continue, we'll talk about our sponsor first, Turtle Beach. Today's show is sponsored by Turtle Beach. Get the best gaming headsets and accessories out there with Turtle Beach this holiday season. And trust me, you're not going to be hearing Santa come down the chimney this Christmas Eve, even though the big fella makes a lot of noise, because with the new Stealth 700 gaming headset, you pick up so much crystal clear sound in your headphones. You're not even going to notice things that are happening around you because you're going to be so locked in on the game. It's basically like you're cheating. There's also no better way to block out Aunt Carol from asking you about your love life this holiday season as well. You're going to hear every explosion, every loot box, every footstep, every crowd noise if you're playing a sports game, every commentator talking as well, because that's how good these headsets are. They're crystal clear audio into your ear, and you're going to forget you're even wearing these headsets because they're so comfortable. It's like throwing a Christmas sweater on for your ears. Best part about it, 80 hours of battery life. You don't even have to charge these puppies during the Christmas season. So whether you're treating yourself or looking for that perfect gift, now is the time to snag the headset that everybody's talking about for a limited time only. Get 10% off at turtlebeach.com/chat. Use code chat for 10% off. That's turtlebeach.com/chat, code chat for 10% off. Get in the game with Turtle Beach. The Cowboys topped the Commanders in a wild divisional game. Kind of had a weird feeling all day this could happen. One, Washington's been trending down in recent weeks. And two, Dallas, plays well historically against divisional opponents outside of the Eagles. That's more of like a 50-50 deal. And B, that Commanders defense too, not just Cliff in the offense cliffing, which he's cliffing all right. That defense has come back to earth as well. And Dallas played well. They controlled this game. They ended up winning 34-26. It was actually kind of crazy, though. It was 27-20, and you thought magic had struck again for Washington. Jayden Daniels hit like a deep corner for about 25 yards, and then instead of going out of bounds, Terry McLaurin just weaves his way through like four defenders, 86-yard touchdown, and then the Commanders missed the extra point. Onside kick, Cowboys run it back for a touchdown. They also had a kickoff return for a touchdown earlier in the second half. Kind of a crazy game. The fourth quarter ended up having 41 total points, but Dallas throughout the day was the better team. And you got to wonder now, is that last NFC wildcard spot up for grabs? Because I've said for a few weeks, even with Washington trending down, their schedule's so manageable, you would just think they're going to run into 2 or 3 more wins. Well, them losing this game to Dallas, they have the Titans again. Well, the Titans beat the Texans today. All of a sudden, these games with how Washington's playing does not feel as easy anymore. So I kind of think that last wild card spot in the NFC could be up for grabs. Could Tampa or Atlanta get it? The other team that doesn't win the NFC South. If the Bears didn't screw around, they'd be in a position to potentially get it, but that's pretty much dead now. Maybe a second NFC West team gets in. Looks like the Niners are going to lose today, but can they rally the troops and get to like 10-7? They'll be 5-6 after today. We'll see. But that's a bad loss for Washington, man. That's a really, really bad loss. Cliff is cliffing. The offense doesn't look the same. They don't have answers for blitz pressures. Not giving Jayden Daniels many hot routes. He's throwing off his back foot a lot. I don't know. That offense just hasn't looked the same. And I do think a couple of things here. One, he's a rookie. Just like we overreacted with how well he was playing, we don't have to overreact to him not playing as well. But two, and more importantly, this is why you don't crown quarterbacks 5, 6, 7 games into their career. The Bears made a mistake. Jayden's the guy. Oh, here comes Bo Nix last couple weeks. Is he the best QB in this draft? Like, guys, like there's ebbs and flows to this stuff. Like, let's see a year and a half, 2 years go by before we figure out who the better QBs are. I think this rookie QB class could just end up being pretty good, and including Jayden, who's had a really good year, but the last few weeks, he's been humbled a bit. This is the NFL. Teams adjust to what you do, and it's up to you as a player, more importantly, your coaching staff, to respond and put your team back in position. And that's where Cliff historically struggles. His offenses usually start the year well, and then when teams get enough film, catch up to what he's doing, he doesn't typically have a counterpunch. And that is a very, very legitimate point to make, and it's happening again, it would appear. All right, lastly, Lions keep rolling. They hammer the Colts 24-6. I kind of liked Indy to keep it close today to cover. They did not. Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery combined for 3 touchdowns. They just plug away, man. I mean, the Lions, you look up 9 straight wins, 10-1 on the season, or is it 11-1? Let me see. 10-1. It's kind of crazy. They're 10-1, and they're only a game up in the NFC North. The Vikings are 9-2, and the Packers, barring a collapse here, are going to be 8-3. They lead the Niners 24-7 late in the third quarter. But, yeah, Detroit playing good ball. Goff efficient. They run the ball. Defense is good. There's just no reason to think they're not the team to beat in the NFC. Doesn't mean they'll win the NFC come playoff time, but they are the team to beat. They're the most complete offense in the NFL. Excellent play caller, excellent offensive line, really good quarterback, really good playmakers, good running backs. They're complete on offense. And, yeah, the Aiden Hutchinson loss hurts, but Aaron Glenn's doing a great job. That defense, every single week you look up and it's like, oh, yeah, they everybody jumped on Anthony Richardson bandwagon last week. Today, he looked like a rookie again. So even though he's a second-year player, but you know what I mean. They're Detroit. This is what they do. They're really, really good. So big win for the Lions. They feel like the best team in the NFL, and not really sure it's even that close. So shout out to them. Thanks to everybody for tuning in to Verts. Like I said, we'll probably be back for a Sunday Night Football reaction episode as we got the Rams and Eagles tonight. Big NFC game, big game for the Rams. They could be a wild card team as well, potentially, if they were to win this game. So hit that sub button. We will see you guys then. My name is Harrison Graham. Enjoy the rest of your day.